And let's get into the final team of the division. Team that struggled our whole lives. Ever-growing list of quarterbacks. Once again, an exciting draft for the Cleveland Browns, but I think we're all ready to be a little bit skeptical on how well that draft is going to help them this season. 1 year removed from the playoffs, how would you describe the Cleveland Browns in 2024?
They were the worst team last year. And I know people say the Titans were the worst team, and there's some merit there, but in terms of where the Browns were in 2023 and what they became, this is just so bad. And it starts top down. Just the management, the ownership, it's just been bad. And it all started with the Deshaun Watson trade. Baker Mayfield, he obviously wasn't as good as he is now, but they gave up on him, and he was the first quarterback to bring you to the playoffs in forever, or ever since you moved back to Cleveland and you had the expansion team from the Ravens, right? You were the laughingstock of the NFL, and now you have a guy with swagger, with moxie, has a piss missile for an arm, and you trade him away for a quarterback who hadn't played in over 700 days and had allegations and had controversy. And Deshaun Watson in 2019 was an awesome quarterback, or 2020, whatever year it was, he went off, was a damn good quarterback. He's not that anymore, and the injuries have shown that, right? But getting into the Browns of 2024, they were just piss poor, and it starts with the offense, right? This was a good offense in 2023. They had the lowest DPA per play, lowest DPA per drop back, 6th lowest DPA per rush, and then in terms of success rate, lowest overall, lowest per drop back, and 3rd lowest rush success in the NFL. And what is changing into this year, I'm not really sure. I mean, the quarterback room has a ton of question marks. Joe Flacco is the starter, but how long are they going to let that last with Dylan Gabriel, Shadur Sanders, Kenny Pickett, and even Deshaun Watson, if he comes back from injury quick enough? Maybe you want to throw him in there because you're already paying him a fuck ton of money. That was stupid to begin with. So you have to do sunk cost fallacy. Well, we're paying him this much, we might as well play him. We might see 5 quarterbacks play for the Browns if Deshaun Watson comes back from this injury sooner than expected, which is just batshit crazy to even think about. If you told me at the end of that 2023 season that the 2020, was it 22 or 23? 22 season after the Browns made the playoffs with Baker Mayfield, and you told me that, yeah, they're going to have a shuffle of 5 quarterbacks and be one of the worst offenses in 2024, I would have looked at you like you had 5 freaking heads, because I would have been like, there's no way. This team is projecting this well, and they turn it to this. Browns are going to Browns. That's just what it is, And the other question marks come up in this rushing attack, right? Quinshon Judkins, who's a good player, hasn't been in training camp, was dealing with a legal issue. That seems to be cleared up and out of the way. Still some question marks around that, but he's barely been around for training camp. He still doesn't have his contract signed. We thought that as soon as the allegations were dropped and the charges were dropped, that a contract would get signed. I think it's been 4 days. There's still nothing. So now you're going to go through this whole negotiation thing when you haven't been around and you're trying to get on the field. We may not see him until week 4. There's a real possibility of that. And now you have to go with Jerome Ford and another rookie, Dylan Sampson. And then the offensive line itself, they are one injury away from absolutely crumbling, because there's a lot of guys on this offensive line that I like Wyatt Teller, Joel Bitonio, DeJuan Jones is solid. Not solid, but I think he's getting better and better. But if one of those guys goes down, this whole offensive line is going to crumble, I think. And it's one of the oldest offensive lines in the league. It's one of the most injury-prone offensive lines in the league. Everything has to go right just for this offense to be average. You do not want to be in that situation, and somehow the Browns are in that spot going into 2025.
Absolutely. For you, I mean, where could you find a bright spot on this roster? Before maybe even getting into your dark horse, is there anything that anybody that you're looking forward to on this team?
I mean, Myles Garrett is obviously one of those guys that we're looking forward to. Carson Schwessinger, I probably got the name wrong, the linebacker from UCLA. He's going to come in. He's going to be the starting Mike right away. Like, I think he's going to be a really solid player. Denzel Ward is up there. Maybe Greg Newsome bounces back and doesn't get toasted like he did last year. Like, I think he could be solid. Another second round guy with some from Ohio State who had some issues last year. Michael Hall was one of my favorite DTs in that class last year. I think he's bound for a big year. This defense in 2023 was one of the best, and then in 2024 was not good. Like, just straight up, and it was mainly this pass defense outside of Myles Garrett, right? Like, I just want to see this defense play as a cohesive unit and not just fall to superstars playing on their own. Because, like, I don't think Myles Garrett does that, but, like, I think there's a real point to be made that, like, if he's the only one making plays for you and the rest of the defense sucks, is as a leader and as one of the highest paid defensive players in this league, what can you do to help this defense out and play more together and more whole? And that sounds cliche and it sounds stupid, but there's a reality to that where, yeah, he can't play all 11 positions on the field, but he can, like, look at Max Crosby in Las Vegas. Like, that defense has not really been good during his time there outside of the back half of 2023, right? Like, they have not been good, but they've been better because he's not taking these stupid, and I'm not saying Myles Garrett is doing this, but like Max Crosby is a super sound run defender, and he sets the tone up front for this run defense. Myles Garrett is a damn good pass rusher. He's one of the best in the NFL, if not the best. Like, he might be the best defensive player in the NFL, period. And that's great that you can win in pass rush because that's most of the game, but on those gritty early downs, can you stuff the run? And he's a very, very good run defender. I wouldn't say he's top 5 in terms of the edge position. I think Max Crosby's at the top of that. But can you set the tone on the gritty downs that sets the tone for this defense? And I wonder if in this season, if he chooses to do that, will this defense come back into the fold and will it come back to fruition? Like, again, sounds cliche and sounds stupid because he's one guy out of 11. He does his 111th and he does it at a really, really, really high level. But there is a reality that you have an inherent responsibility to the rest of your defense and the rest of your team to play within the structure and play within the system so everyone else can find their spot and not have to do extra, because Myles Garrett can do extra and he's awesome at doing it, but he doesn't have to do it as often. Like, we know how damn good he is. Play, like, just like we said, it's kind of a theme this episode, like, just like Lamar, just like Joe, just like the Steelers defense, play within your means and play your type of game. Don't try to be a hero. Just play your game. And when Myles Garrett does that, he's one of the best players in the NFL.
Absolutely. And then before we get into the dark horse and the big question, I mean, I do kind of want to ask about Shedeur a little bit. Obviously, he's not, 100% right now. But, with Joe Flacco currently the starter as we kind of move into the season, but do we feel like we'll see any Shedeur later this season? And is it even worth bringing him on? Like, obviously you want a young quarterback to get snaps, and it's not I'm not saying that as a reflection of whether or not I want to see him play, but for a team like this, like, is there going to be any value for him to kind of get some snaps, later on in the season potentially?
I think it will, because when you look at quarterbacks who have played really well that, like, later in their careers, like, obviously Pat Mahomes is the, like, epitome of that. Like sit him almost his entire rookie year, and now you have one of the best quarterbacks of all time, right? Like, that's
Tom Brady too. Like,
Tom Brady's another guy. He didn't play at all his rookie year, and he wasn't even a first round pick. Like, he was an afterthought almost on this team, right? Like, there was probably 99% of the other realities of the NFL. Tom Brady never becomes Tom Brady, but they got 4 quarterbacks for some reason, right? Like, that wouldn't even happen today, right? Like, so, but then very rarely does throwing someone to the fire end up working out for the team. We just saw that with Anthony Richardson. not that Kyler Murray hasn't worked out. Like, Kyler Murray was very much an NFL ready quarterback, but he has not been what we thought he was going to be. Joe Burrow obviously had the injury early on, but like even he didn't have a good rookie year. Justin Herbert probably would have been better than he is if he didn't get thrown to the fire in week 2 and kind of have to play. And he still had a really damn good rookie year, right? But very rarely does throwing your rookie out there early on pan out for a lot of quarterbacks. And I think Josh Allen is kind of that outlier in this situation. I think Jaden Daniels was NFL ready. Like, and I brought this up in the NFC East episode. I just had a bad evaluation on him. Shedeur Sanders is not NFL ready. Like, he's in that tier of project quarterbacks. And I like Shedeur. Like I don't like some of the stuff he says to the media and like throwing his players under the bus and how he reacts to certain guys. But from what I've been hearing behind closed doors, like, he listens well. He's very coachable. Like, he's a down to earth dude. Like, he's an entertainer. He's got that superstar mentality, right? So like, you want to root for him just to prove everyone wrong, But there was nothing he did at Colorado, and I think this might be more the system than Shedeur himself. But that was the complete opposite of the NFL system that he ran at Colorado. Like, lots of shotgun, lots of spread, lots of RPO, lots of screens. Like, you don't see that in the NFL. So I think his job is sit behind Joe Flacco as long as you can. And when you get your chance, just play simple, fundamental football. Don't make the playbook super expansive. You got to shrink the playbook to give him only a couple things to focus on. And just let him work through his progression, work through his reads. Don't try to do anything extravagant like we saw him do in week 1 of the preseason. And yeah, it's preseason, but when people say, oh, Shedeur is this, he's a great athlete, he couldn't evade a defensive tackle on half the pressures. Like, and it's an NFL defensive lineman, but like half the quarterbacks in the league can evade a defensive tackle. Shedeur can't. Like, it's just how it is. He's a fine athlete. He's not this great athlete that he's made out to be, but like he needs to play within his means, and he needs to play within the system. He can't do this hero ball shit that we saw him try to do. And yeah, like when he played within the structure, like that designed rollout touchdown to the back left corner of the end zone where he funneled it through 3 defenders, I'm like, that's an NFL throw. That's an NFL quarterback. Like, that's awesome. But half the time, he's not doing that. And that's where I kind of have my hangups. So his job is going to be to learn from Joe Flacco, play within structure, and use whatever time he has in game to do what Joe Flacco does. Joe Flacco is not going to do these out-of-pocket extravagant plays. He's going to sit in the pocket and throw a ball right at your face and say, try to pick it off, because I'm zipping it right by you before you get a chance to realize I threw it. That's who Joe Flacco is. If Shedeur can do that, sky's the limit for this kid going into year 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And, those awesome throws that he made, those NFL caliber throws are still NFL caliber in the NFL, but they're a lot less successful against the Pittsburgh Steelers than they are against like Colorado State and like North Dakota State, 2 great programs, especially North Dakota State. But you know what I mean? It's just like, that's just how it is. Like your competition's going to get better. Let's talk on the defensive side with your dark horse, Grant Delpit. What do you like out of him?
I think he's a good safety. I think he got better every year in the NFL. He did take a little bit of a step back last year and had his worst year in coverage on paper. 123.5 pass rating allowed is abysmal. And it was his first year allowing over 100 passer rating, and just the second year of his career allowing over a 79 passer rating. So he has a really good track record of being good in coverage. That didn't happen last year, and I think that's because they, like Martin Emerson and Greg Newsome, were just dog water, and so he felt like he might have had to do their job a little bit and cheat his zone down, and he got exposed over the top a bunch. He allowed 3 TDs, which doubled his career total. The 3 years leading into this year, he allowed 3 TDs total. This year alone, he allowed 3, right? So doubled his total. And this was also the most targets he's ever seen, the most receptions he's allowed, and the most yards he's allowed in his career up to this point. So he had a rough year. Guys can have rough years. He's still a good safety. I think he's going to rebound this year. And what I think matters is he still improved in run defense, which is where he used to struggle. This is the first year he had less than 10% of his tackles missed. He had a nearly 14-point jump in his run defense grade and a nearly 20-point jump in his tackling grade. If he was around the same in run defense and had that drop-off in coverage, I would feel a lot differently. But he improved in areas where he was lacking. So now he just needs to get back to what he was doing before. And we have a complete safety in 2025 if he elevates his coverage play to what it was and continues to improve his run defense and tackling. Like, you can't ask for more than that in terms of a safety. That's why he's my dark horse. I think a lot of people wrote him off because he was really good on that LSU team, had an injury. I think he fell to the second round, maybe even the third in that 2019 draft. And he's just gotten better and better every year and just took a step back last year. Like, I think that projection is going to keep moving its way up. And I think getting rid of Martin Emerson and filling in a couple new guys in the secondary is going to help him play his own game and just trust, like, hey, they brought in these news guys for a reason. Let me just go back to what I do well, and we're going to see. He might have a career year. He might blossom. Like, that's what I hope for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And the big question for the Cleveland Browns, from a analysis standpoint, their schedule is kind of perfect because their bye is in week 9. So they got 8 games, and then they head into the bye, and then from weeks 10 to 18, it's just, final mad dash to finish out the season. For you, based on how we've talked about in prep, like, you might not even think he'll make it this far, but say we get into the bye and Kevin Stefanski is still the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Mm-hmm. Coming out of the bye in week 10, will he be leading the team against the New York Jets?
It depends. The problem is, holy hell, their schedule sucks the first half of the year, right? Like, I'll not quickly, but just to go through these. They play the Bengals week 1, Ravens week 2, and going forward, the Packers, the Lions, the Vikings, the Steelers, who we'll see, the Dolphins, who will have their moments, and then the Patriots before their bye week? No, excuse me. Yeah. Patriots before their bye week, right? And the Patriots are looking much better on offense, at least on paper, right? So out of your first 8 games, you're playing 6 teams with a high-end offense. And of those 6 teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, potentially 6 have a damn good defense to go along with it. So if you start 2-6, see you later, Kevin Stefanski. But if he can somehow go 3-5 and steal a win against, the Bengals in September always suck. So maybe he steals a win against the Bengals. I think they beat the Dolphins. Maybe they beat the Patriots and start 3-5. Maybe Kevin Stefanski stays around for a while because then they have the Jets. Then they have the Ravens again. But then they play the Raiders, whose defense is not looking that good. 49ers, who are not rebuilding, but they have a lot of young pieces. The Titans, who are absolutely rebuilding. The Bears, who I think are going to be good, are kind of a wild card because we got to see how this offense pans out. And then they finish with the Bills, Steelers, and Bengals, right? Like, we'll see how it goes by the bye week. I think if they're 2-6 and worse, I think Kevin Stefanski's gone. Like, it's been long enough. You went 3-14 the year before. Like, push comes to shove, something's got to give, right? But if he's 3-5 or 4-4, I think he stays on until the end of the season. And if they don't make playoffs, which I don't think they're going to sniff it, I think he's gone. I think he's just kind of run a course at this point. You need some new blood. Especially if you want to rock with Shedeur going into year 2, like, pair him up with a new coach. Like, pair him up with someone who's never been a head coach before. Like, just see what happens. Like, get a young, sharp, offensive mind to come in and say, let me build this kid into something great. Let me build a culture here, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And side tangent, sorry about this, but I noticed when we're looking at the Brown schedule that they're playing the Vikings week 5 at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. Earlier in the show, we talked about the Steelers playing the Vikings week 4 in Ireland. That sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks for the Vikings. I'm surprised we didn't talk about this in the NFC North show, which you should check out, by the way. But, man, that sucks.
Yeah, tough.
Going back to last episode, maybe bring up another keyword. Capitalism. Kind of sucks.
Sorry.
Anyway,
NFL loves money. What can we say?
Cleveland Browns football, baby.